A door closes behind you, and the sound is heavier than it should be. Not because the room is dangerous. Because what you say in this room can decide whether a case survives federal court or collapses in front of a jury months from now. You are here for one reason: a drug investigation is moving from suspicion to action. And action has rules. In the DA, rank is not a badge of status. It is the chain that prevents pressure from turning into mistakes. You begin at the bottom of the ladder, but not at the bottom of the standard. Before you ever touch a real case file, you are screened. Background investigation. Financial review. Interviews that test judgment, not confidence. Then training. Firearms, yes, but also report writing, legal procedure, surveillance discipline, evidence handling, and the kind of restraint that keeps an investigation clean. You learn early that the DA is not built for quick wins. It is built for cases that last. You graduate and report to your first field office as a new special agent. Your first months are not glamorous. They are controlled exposure. You learn how cases begin: a tip, a seizure, a local arrest that points upward, a pattern that repeats across cities. You sit in briefings where experienced agents speak carefully, because a careless word becomes a careless decision, and a careless decision becomes a problem later. You run surveillance with patience that feels unnatural at first. You learn that the job is not constant movement. It is constant attention. You work with task forces, local police, federal partners, sometimes international coordination through proper channels. You write more than you expected. Affidavits, summaries, logs, evidence receipts. Everything is designed for one thing: accountability. As you gain experience, you become trusted with more direct responsibility. You participate in controlled operations under supervision. You coordinate with prosecutors before you move, not after. You learn what is admissible and what is not. You learn that it is possible to do something that feels successful in the moment and still damage the case. You are taught to think in outcomes that happen in court, not just on the street. You meet informants through structured procedures. You learn how fragile that world is. People talk for reasons: fear, money, leverage, survival. Your job is to manage information without letting the process manage you. And you learn a difficult truth: empathy can exist, but it cannot replace discipline. Then you become a senior agent, the person others start relying on. Not because of rank on paper, but because of consistency. You are given larger cases, longer investigations, higher-level targets. You begin coordinating multi-agency work with a heavier hand. You mentor newer agents, not with speeches, but with corrections. You teach them what no one can explain quickly: pacing. When to push. When to wait. When to gather more proof instead of more adrenaline. You become the agent who catches small cracks early: gaps in documentation, unclear chain of custody, a timeline that does not align. You fix problems before they become public. That is how credibility is maintained. Eventually, you move into supervision. Now the job changes sharply. You are no longer measured by what you personally do. You are measured by what your team does, and what you allow. You supervise a group. You assign cases. You review operational plans. You read affidavits and decide whether they are strong enough to be signed. You coordinate with legal counsel and prosecutors, because at this level, mistakes are not only tactical. They are institutional. You also manage the quiet side of the job: personnel readiness, training, compliance, equipment, fatigue, conduct. Because a team under pressure will either become disciplined or become careless. And careless is expensive. As you rise again, you oversee multiple groups. Now you are balancing priorities. You decide which investigations get resources and which wait. You coordinate with regional leadership and other agencies. You handle conflicts between urgency and evidence. You see how external events affect operations: media attention, local political pressure, community impact. You learn to keep the agency's work insulated from noise without becoming disconnected from reality. You are responsible for operational tempo. Too aggressive, and you increase mistakes. Too slow, and you lose momentum. At this level, leadership is not about being tougher. It is about being steadier. Then you lead a full field division. This is where the job becomes less personal and more strategic. You oversee investigations that cross states and sometimes borders through formal cooperation. You manage sensitive cases where visibility is high and tolerance for error is low. You coordinate with federal prosecutors, senior law enforcement partners, and agency leadership. You review major operational proposals. You decide what can proceed. You decide what must be strengthened. You decide what must stop. The higher you go, the more your decisions affect people you have never met. Agents in the field. Analysts behind desks. Prosecutors preparing trials. Communities that may never know what was prevented, only what happened. You carry that weight without the reward of public recognition. Because success in this work is often invisible. At headquarters, the role becomes policy. You oversee regional strategies and national priorities. You evaluate trends, threat patterns, and investigative gaps. You build frameworks that determine what good work looks like across the agency. Budgets are not just numbers now. They are capability, training standards, technology upgrades, staffing, intelligence support. You learn quickly that leadership at this level is not about individual cases. It is about systems. A strong system produces strong cases. A weak system produces headlines and failure. At the top, you are responsible for the agency itself. You face oversight. You face scrutiny. You answer for outcomes that may be celebrated by some and criticized by others. Your mission is not to be liked. Your mission is to enforce federal law within constitutional limits, with professionalism that can survive review. You think about the new agent you once were, the one who believed the job was mainly action. You now understand the truth. Action is easy. Restraint is hard. Restraint is what keeps force from becoming error. From the outside, the DEA is seen as raids, arrests, and seizures. From the inside, it is a long sequence of decisions. What to document. What to verify. What to hold back. When to move. At the lowest level, you learn procedure. At the middle, you learn judgment. At the top, you learn consequence. The higher your rank, the less visible your work becomes, and the more your decisions shape outcomes you cannot personally control. Somewhere tonight, a new agent is sitting in a field office, writing a report, trying to get every detail right because they can feel how fragile a case can be. Somewhere else, a supervisor is reading an operation plan, deciding whether it holds together under scrutiny. And somewhere above them, leadership is deciding what the agency becomes next year by deciding what it will prioritize today. That is the DA at every rank. Not a ladder for status. A chain of responsibility built to hold under pressure. If you want more breakdowns of real-world hierarchies like this, subscribe. New videos are posted regularly.